I am here at Phantasialand in the outskirts of Cologne in Germany. This place is home to 8 different roller coasters for me to get on today, including the absolutely incredible Taron, an Intamin multi-launch roller coaster, as well as F.L.Y, the newest generation flying coaster out there with 2 launches. This park also has a wide variety of other attractions, including some epic looking flat rides. My name is Max Grindon and this is Max G-Force. And I've just entered the park there. The park's hours today are 9 AM until 6 PM, so I might be able to get some night rides today because I am visiting in November, so it's pretty chilly today, but the weather is looking great so far. And the awesome thing about today is this is my first time ever visiting Phantasialand, so you'll get to see my first reactions to this amazing theme park. It is regarded by many as one of the best theme parks, not only in Germany, but in all of Europe. So just to the left here is Raik, which is home to F.L.Y. And F.L.Y does look like one of the major coasters here at this park. I will be going in there in a moment, but right now, because I've entered at 9 AM, not all the rides are open. So the rides actually open from 10 AM, but they do get some stuff open for the guests who have arrived at this early time, including Black Mamba, which looks like an epic B&M invert. So I'm going to head over there now because, yeah, I have heard it opens early for us. But I mean, first impressions of this park, you can see they're getting the Christmas lights already, and look at that Christmas tree back there. So yeah, we're sort of in that period sort of between Halloween and Christmas. So yeah, I'm really hoping for a quiet day today to get lots of these rides in. So yeah, just up these stairs and back there is where Black Mamba is located, so I'm going to head over there now. And I've just entered the Africa themed land now, and just to my left here is Talocan, which is a Huss top spin. That looks so good with the theming there, but that's not open yet, but Black Mamba is, so I'm going to head over there. Look, it's a B&M invert. This coaster, it's got a drop of 89 feet. It's got a max speed of 50 miles per hour, and it's got 4 inversions as well as a max G-force of 4 Gs. So this coaster is going to be pretty intense, I reckon. It looks great as well. I mean, I reckon they definitely took inspiration from Nemesis at Alton Towers, just with the way this coaster's layout traverses around all this rock work here. It does look quite exciting. I will let you know how Black Mamba rides when I get off. and I have just got off my second ride there on Black Mamba. It was completely walk on this time in the morning, and it is epic. This B&M invert has the potential to be one of the best I've ever done, because it's got awesome positive G-forces. You've got several moments where you're getting sustained positives, where you feel the force in the bottom of your feet. However, that force which you feel, it's not at this time in the morning, you know, it's running at its worst at the moment, because coasters, they do warm up throughout the day. This time in the morning, those positives aren't as strong as they will probably be later today. So at the moment, my favourite B&M invert definitely remains Nemesis Reborn at Alton Towers for those positive Gs. And yeah, this coaster potentially has more moments of those sustained forces. So yeah, it's definitely got the potential to possibly be my favourite B&M invert. But yeah, I'll have to ride it later in the day to see whether that's the case. So as for the layout then, you go down this brilliant first drop, and you know, I sat on the front row for my first ride there. I managed to request it and just wait to the side, which was great. And then I rode on the back row, and I have to say the front row ride experience is definitely the best, even though on the back row that first drop is better. Yeah, after that first drop, everything else is better on that front row. So it's definitely a front row ride, this. The reason for that is because, I mean, I mentioned it before, this coaster traverses some amazing theming, like loads of rock work. It's going all down in loads of ditches. It really does look fantastic on ride when you're at the front row. And I'll tell you something crazy that happened. So I sat on the far right seat there, and my feet hit the bushes. They'd not cut the trees down as much as they should, and yeah, my feet literally did touch some leaves there, so that did freak me out a little bit. But yeah, it just shows you sort of how, you know, close you do get to the terrain on this coaster, and it makes for one hell of a ride experience with those views as well as those positive Gs. I think this coaster is fantastic, and it's brilliant that Phantasialand have it open early in the morning. But yeah, I'll have to ride it later today to give you my full review and my final verdict on this awesome B&M invert. And I've just left the Africa land now, and I'm heading back into Berlin, which is this main area just after you enter the park. And look at this wave swinger here. It looks incredible with those fountains. You notice the fountains follow the swings. It's got to be the best looking model of these swings out there in the world with these fountains. And what a fantastic centerpiece it is after you've walked through the main street there and you're greeted by this. It looks absolutely brilliant. I wonder if they're getting a little bit wet on there though. I wouldn't want to be getting wet today, although I have that to look forward to, as I do want to ride Chiapas later today, which some enthusiasts regard as being better than Valhalla at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, my previous favourite water ride anywhere in the world. So yeah, I'm really excited to get on Chiapas. Let's just hope I don't get too wet on it. But I've made my way over to Mouse à Chocolat. This is a dark ride. I opened in 2011 and I don't really know what to expect, so I'll let you know how it rides when I get off. And I've just got off my one ride there on Mouse à Chocolat, and it was an indoor shooting dark ride, and I have to say, first off, you enter the queue line and it's a really long queue line. you know, it's similar to Black Mamba's. That was another long queue line. So yeah, I think Phantasialand is going to have long queue lines just to fit in all the crowds that they do get. And I have to say that queue line was brilliant, really well themed in there, like a sort of oldie worldy sort of chocolate factory in there. And so you ride this indoor dark ride, and you've got a gun to shoot the screens, and you've got to shoot all the mice that are like playing around in the factory. And yeah, it's definitely a really good family attraction. I remember over at Chesington World of Adventures, I used to love Tomb Raiders as a kid. Just it's great fun if you're competitive to challenge the guys that you're here with and try and get the highest score, and yeah, kill as many mice as possible. so yeah, that was a good fun dark ride. And yeah, I'm now heading over to do Taron. So I'm making my way through the Mexicana sort of area, which is home to Chiapas actually. We're going to get a view of that in a second. And then yeah, I'll be over at Taron. And something I did notice as well on the screens is they do have staggered openings for some of the rides here. Chiapas, it's going to be open from 1 p.m. and here it is. I mean, look at the theming behind me here for Chiapas. I mean, just all the rock work there. So yeah, you'll notice this big drop here and then an airtime hill there. It looks like a really good water ride, and yeah, I will definitely be going on that later today. And yeah, you can spot Black Mamba in the distance there as well. So yeah, I'll see you over at Taron. And I have just entered Klugheim here, which is home to Taron. So Taron, this coaster has a height of 98 feet, which you can see just over there. And it's got a top speed of 73 miles per hour. It's got 2 LSM launches, and yeah, this coaster, it looks absolutely brilliant here. I will let you know how Taron rides when I get off. And I have just come off my second ride on Taron. This coaster is amazing. Oh my gosh. So My first ride there, I got the back row. Both times I queued in the single rider line they've got there. I literally got here right for 10 o'clock, which is when this ride opened. And there was a big pre-queue going up these stairs behind me. But the single rider was dead. So it was pretty much walk on that first time. And I got the back row. Back row was great, but the second ride I got on the front row. And the wind in your face, it's pretty cold today, and my hands were freezing. So, I mean, especially on that launch as well. But as for the ride experience then, so you go out of the station, go into that first launch. That first launch is good fun. You pull up into a turnaround. This coaster, it's full of twists and turns. And at the bottom of the valleys of each of those turns, there's some really good moments of force with some of these. So that's good. The highlight for me with this coaster, it's got to be those moments of airtime. You've got a few good pops of airtime on this coaster. And there's especially one where you sort of come out of your seat to your left, and it's a really strong moment of ejector airtime. You can hear it behind me, the 2 LSM launches they've got on this coaster. I can confirm the second LSM launch is absolutely brilliant. The rate of acceleration has to be really high for that one, because you're soon out of the launch and going up the highest point on the ride. Which has a good bit of force there. You get a good sense of speed on this coaster, but yeah, it's mostly, there's no inversions on it. It is just sort of twists and turns and some good pops of airtime. This Intamin, it opened in 2016 and it is still running beautifully smooth. I love a good smooth coaster, and yeah, this really is a smooth ride experience. The restraints are one of my favourite restraints on coasters. They're the Intamin lap bar, the new generation Intamin lap bar. So you get to experience all that airtime with loads of freedom around you, and yeah, it really does feel comfortable. And the operations, I have to mention the operations. They are literally running 4 trains. You never see that with coasters this long in length. A 4-train service is pretty unheard of, and they're smashing those trains out. The operations within the station itself are really good. They're assigning seats in there. It's all working really smoothly, and it just means that queue is going to go down that bit faster. But single rider has been brilliant today. I look forward to using it again more. Oh, just listen to it behind me. Taron, it is an absolutely incredible Intamin multi-launch. Oh, what a coaster. And having just come off Taron, I'm now heading over to do Raik. This opened alongside Taron in 2016. It's a Vekoma family boomerang coaster, and it's got a max speed of 39 miles per hour. And I'll let you know how Raik rides when I get off. I've just got off Raik there. So that family Vekoma boomerang coaster was beautifully smooth, my gosh. It reminds me of the ones I've ridden over in Energylandia. These new generation Vekomas, they are so smooth, it's incredible. And guess what? They sent me round twice. So it was a 2-lap special, which I've never experienced on a Vekoma boomerang before. They are pretty short layouts, so it's great they sent it round twice. And yeah, it's definitely a family thrill coaster because you get a good bit of speed, and yeah, it goes up pretty high, or at least it definitely looks it when you're going inside this building. Yeah, and dropping out of it, it's great fun. A really good family coaster that does complement this area quite well with the sort of major thrill with Taron there. And I have to say, the theming of this land, the sort of medieval theming of Klugheim, is incredible. It looks fantastic all around me. Yeah, Phantasialand have done an absolutely fantastic job with this whole land. And I'm now heading over to do Colorado Adventure. This coaster, it opened in 1996. It's got a height of 85 feet and a top speed of 31 miles per hour. This coaster, it's got 3 lift hills. So it's going to be a really long ride, and I'll let you know how this Vekoma mine train rides when I get off. And I have just got off my one ride there on Colorado Adventure. I got the back car, so I sat in the middle row on the back car. You've got rows of 3 in each of the cars, and you tend to find with these types of coasters, sitting in the middle row is the least rough. But this coaster was actually really quite smooth. It was only the profiling of the layout that throws you around a bit. This coaster, it is a really fun experience, especially for the families. It's like definitely a family thrill coaster. It could totally be a stepping stone for a younger one getting into the more thrilling rides. It is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, you've got 3 lift hills on this. You've got a really good indoor section where my one, the lights were on. But I've seen in the past online that they do have the lights off in there. So clearly, you know, I don't know whether I was lucky or not having the lights on in there. It could sometimes be pitch black, which could potentially scare some of the really younger ones. Because it does get some good speed on this coaster. And at the bottom here, you'll notice how low to the ground this helix is and how tightly banked it is. You get a really good bit of force down there, and yeah, it's really surprised me, this coaster. It doesn't look like much, but it is definitely on the more thrilling end of a family coaster. It's great fun, and yeah, I mean, with the restraint they've got in there, it's not a very restrictive restraint whatsoever, so you are sort of getting thrown around quite a lot, which is just fun, isn't it? So something I love about these Vekoma mine trains is they've been really clever with how they've designed the track. They've played into just the normal design of the Vekoma track, and they've added wood to it, which looks absolutely brilliant. It's amazing how close I can get to this track here. So yeah, overall, Colorado Adventure is a really good family thrill coaster here at Phantasialand. And having just come off Colorado Adventure, I've made my way back into the Berlin area because I am heading to Rookburg. I'm really excited to check out F.L.Y for the very first time. Yeah, ever since I became an enthusiast and I heard about Phantasialand, I've always wanted to come here, and one of the main reasons is because of F.L.Y. I do like a good flying coaster, so it will be really interesting to see how this new generation flying coaster by Vekoma rides, because it will be the first ever flying coaster that I will have done, and I think literally out there in the world, with a launch. So without a lift hill, it's launched. So it looks amazing. So here we go. I'm entering Rookburg now, and I'll see you on the other side. And here we go. It's just out here. Oh my gosh. Look at this. So F.L.Y, it opened in 2020. It's a Vekoma flying coaster. It's got a height of 64 feet. It's got a top speed of 48.5 miles per hour. And it's got 2 inversions. I'm really excited to be riding this coaster right now. It's got to be one of the best looking roller coasters I think I've ever seen in my life, with this whole steampunk themed land around it. It really does look incredible. So I mean, just look at the steam coming out of these drains here. Absolutely brilliant. So I will let you know how F.L.Y rides when I get off. and I have just come off my one ride there on F.L.Y. I waited for the front row, and my gosh, it was so quiet, the queue. I literally got on in like 15 minutes with the front row queue as well. So it's great they've got a separate queue for the front row, and I have to say, I think this is probably going to be a front row ride, because that front row ride experience was incredible. You got this really mad sensation at several points in the ride where you literally get airtime while in the flying position, and it's a really peculiar feeling because you're obviously coming out of your seat, hitting the backrest, while sort of lying flat. It's really mad, so that was really good fun. And so yeah, I'll tell you the best moment on the ride for sure has to be at the top of that second launch there. So go into the second launch, then you launch up. Where is it actually? No, it's back there. So that's the second launch there, which it's just going into now. Right at the top there, you get a brilliant pop of airtime on the front row. It's incredible. Something I wasn't expecting with this coaster was just how much force there would be. The coaster obviously travels around this whole area of Rookburg, and you get really strong moments of sustained positive G-forces on many of the turnaround moments, where you're getting squished sort of into your restraint, sort of getting pushed sort of outwards. It's quite strenuous, that feeling, and I can't say I'm a big fan of it, I'm afraid. That force on this flying coaster, it doesn't quite work that well with the flying position. It's not that comfortable of a feeling. I mean, the restraints themselves are comfortable, but yeah, all that force. Yeah, it's definitely not my favourite part about this coaster. My favourite part would definitely be those several moments of airtime, which you do get jotted around the ride. So yeah, that's great fun. And it's a really unique roller coaster experience. You can't get a ride like this anywhere in the world, really. So, something I have to mention is when having just come off that, I feel a little bit giddy. I feel a little bit motion sick. Yeah, I've never ridden a roller coaster which has made me feel just as queasy as I do after riding F.L.Y. I think it has to be the layout, it has to be the fact it's twisting round back in on itself several times, and those strong sustained forces on it in that flying position. Yeah, it makes me a little bit giddy, which is a shame, which means this coaster doesn't have that strong re-rideability. I can't go back on this right now. I'm gonna have lunch, and I'll be back later in the day, and I'll try and get a seat further back in the train to see how the back row ride experience differs from the front. But yeah, I mean, the F.L.Y, it's a really good coaster for what it is. It's just a little bit of a shame about the fact it's not that re-rideable for me personally, but nonetheless, it's definitely a full package with this theming. It really does look fantastic. Hello, Max from the future here. Look, you're not going to believe this, but something really annoying happened. So when I got back to my hotel room that day after Phantasialand, I was looking back at my recordings of the vlog, and some of the recordings of the day unfortunately were completely muted. Something messed up with my microphone. I'm going to make sure it never happens again. I think it probably lost charge because I was keeping it out of the charging case. But anyway, don't worry. I'm going to talk all about what I did during those moments where the microphone did not work. So after riding F.L.Y, I headed over to the fantasy side of the park, which is home to 3 roller coasters. You've got Winjas Fear, Winjas Force, and also Crazy Bats. Fortunately, my review on Crazy Bats wasn't muted, so you'll hear that in a moment. But first off, straight after riding F.L.Y, I went over to Woozy Town, which is like an indoor part of the park in this Phantasialand. And yeah, Woozy Town is home to Winjas, which are 2 Mara spinning coasters. And I've managed to keep myself from much of the hidden secrets with them. So yeah, I was going into this not knowing much about what to expect really. So I headed straight over to do Winjas Fear. Winjas Fear, it's got a height of 57 feet and it's got a drop of 53 feet, as well as a top speed of 41 miles per hour. So what did I think of Winjas Fear after I got off it? Well, I was really pleasantly surprised. I wasn't expecting this coaster to be just that good, and I've done at that time it would have been my 3rd Mara spinner. So I've previously been on Dragon's Fury over at Chesington Worlds of Adventure, and I also have ridden Spinball Whizzer at Alton Towers. I was really pleasantly surprised after getting off Winjas Fear, and it easily became my favourite Mara spinner I have ever done. And I really wasn't expecting that. So, and this is a spoiler by the way, because it does have some fun hidden secrets in there. So you start off the ride going up a vertical lift straight away. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, and you're in the dark at that moment. So yeah, that was quite exciting to start the ride. And then you sort of tilt forward into the first drop. It's got a few good drops to it. However, I wouldn't say they've got any sort of real airtime, but they are still really good fun. One of my favourite moments of Winjas Fear is at the top section, pretty much at the highest point of the ride. You've got several brilliant moments of lateral Gs, which reminds me very much of a Wild Mouse roller coaster. And these moments of lateral Gs on Winjas Fear were really good fun because they were also spinning the car. So yeah, that was great. Then you go into like this 360-degree helix. So with that helix, it was pretty fun going around pretty much a full circle around Woozy Town, and that's sort of like a dueling moment with the other Winjas Force, which does exactly the same thing. Towards the latter half of the ride, you've got a tilt track, which yeah, surprised me. It wasn't like thrilling or anything, but it was just a little bit surprising, and yeah, it was good fun. I went down it sort of sideways with the rotation I was in, and then at the end of the ride, there was a moment where literally you're just about to come into the brake run and the track detaches and drops down a bit and does like a bounce. So you're literally, it's like you're riding along the track and the track sort of bounces. It's a really weird sensation, especially while you're in motion. I really wasn't expecting it. It was really clever and a really fun way to end the ride. So yeah, overall, this Mara spinner, I wasn't expecting it to just be as clever as it was. Really good fun. So after riding Winjas Fear, I headed straight over and I did Winjas Force. And you know, Force, that did sound pretty enticing to me. You know me, I do like a bit of strong G-forces, hence why I'm called Max G-Force. So I was hoping the Winjas Force side would deliver some force. However, it's a pretty misleading name because it was actually the less intense side of Winjas. In my opinion, it was definitely the worse of the 2 coasters. It shares a lot of elements with Winjas Fear. You've got that vertical lift, You've got the brilliant moments of laterals. You've got something that's quite different to Winjas Fear is you do actually have on Winjas Force an S-bend. That was a little bit of a differentiating element on Winjas Force. It had some airtime hills, but once again, these coasters, they didn't deliver actual proper airtime. They might just give you that small sort of stomach drop feeling, that small sort of butterflies in your stomach. It didn't have as tall of a first drop as Winjas Fear. I can suggest someone who is a little bit apprehensive about bigger coasters, definitely ride Winjas Force first, because it is much less intimidating than Winjas Fear, because it doesn't have as big of a first drop. But Winjas Force, it had that tilt track and it had the trick track, sort of bouncy track at the end of the ride. So Winjas overall, the two coasters, they're a brilliant package. They are two really good Mara spinners, and I know for sure that I would rather ride Winjas Fear, and I did go round again and get a second ride in there. So after my brilliant rides on Winjas then, I headed over to Crazy Bats, which is also in that same fantasy side of the park. And the special thing about Crazy Bats is it's a coaster that is fully indoors, but in 2019, they added virtual reality headsets to the ride. And I have never ever been on a roller coaster with VR headsets. I know Galactica at Alton Towers, when they rethemed it from air, they actually added VR headsets to Galactica, but I never got to ride it with that. They'd removed them by the time I first visited Alton Towers as an enthusiast, and they removed the VR headsets because they were proving very unreliable. Yeah, they didn't work that well, apparently, from what I've heard. And that's basically the general theme of VR headset roller coasters around the world as well. They were sort of a bit of a fad that died out, but Crazy Bats still does have virtual reality headsets. So Crazy Bats opened in 1988 and it's got a height of 38 feet and it's got a top speed of 29 miles per hour. But the special thing about this coaster, other than those VR headsets, is it used to hold the world record for the longest indoor roller coaster in the world, and that was only recently overtaken by Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind over at Epcot in Florida. Yeah, this coaster, Crazy Bats, it's got a massively long ride duration of 4 minutes. So I gave it a go and I'll let you know how it rides in just a moment. And I have just come off my one ride there on Crazy Bats. So okay, that was my first VR headset roller coaster, and I was worried a little bit about what it would sort of look like, whether I'd be able to get the headset on right and comfortable, and what the quality would be like. And I was actually pretty impressed with that. It wasn't like bad quality of the VR headsets. I'll tell you one thing, it was pretty weird sort of being fully immersed while going around a roller coaster and not being able to see anything of the real world. As for what it plays on the screen, you were sort of inside like a mansion, sort of castle thing, and we were all bats, and yeah, I mean, it was interesting. It was sort of good in a weird way. It was sort of good weird, but anyway. As for the roller coaster itself, it's definitely a family roller coaster. There weren't any big thrills whatsoever, really. It was just a bit of a unique one, not being able to see anything. It's not one I'm gonna rush to go back on. Okay, Max from the future, back again. First off, can I just say, if you've made it to this part of the video and you still haven't smashed that like button, please go ahead and do it right now. And also, while you're there, subscribe to the channel too. It really does help out. So, after riding Crazy Bats, I headed over to the back, right to the back of the park, over to Mystery Castle. And on my way to Mystery Castle, I passed River Quest. And River Quest is a rapids ride. I do love a good rapids ride. So it was a little bit annoying because I didn't want to go on it that day because I'd heard you do get really quite wet on that ride. So that's one I'm going to have to save for when I go back in the summer in the future. But it looked absolutely brilliant. You know, it's got a really intimidating looking drop on it. I've never seen a drop that looks quite that cool on a river rapid, so it does look absolutely brilliant. So after passing that, then you're literally right beneath this really menacing tower that dominates the skyline. It's the tallest thing at the park, and that is Mystery Castle. And inside there are 6 Intamin drop towers, and they are 213 feet tall, and they opened in 1998. So what did I think of my ride on Mystery Castle then? Well, first off, the queue line, like with all the queue lines at Phantasialand, was awesome. You really did feel like you were inside of a castle. And this ride, I was the most nervous of any of the rides at the park. If you've watched the channel before, you will know I do not like drop towers that much. They do still scare me. They're some of the only rides that do still frighten me. So, you know, I was pretty nervous going into this, and yeah, when you're waiting in that very dark castle-themed queue line, it does just make things a little bit more frightening. This drop tower, I heard that it did some special things, some quite unique things for a drop tower at least. And one of the things I'd heard is if you ride it in the afternoon, like in the later part of the day, I think from 2 o'clock I'd heard. By this point I was riding it at like 3 or 4 o'clock. Apparently they run a more intense ride cycle, a longer ride cycle later in the day. So I made sure to wait for that. And my ride on Mystery Castle, overall, it was great. You sit in the seat, and first off, you get like a semi-fast sort of launch up. I don't think you go straight to the top of the tower and then you drop down. So that was sort of like a less intense start of the ride. And then from that point onwards, you're then launched straight to the top, and you're held at the top of the indoor of this tower, and you're looking up at like these lights, like this theming piece, like electricity. It was sort of like a mad sort of scientist sort of, you know, electrical wires. There's all music playing, sound effects playing. It's trying to make you look up before you then get dropped down, and at that moment you do get the full drop of that drop tower, which is really quite intense and really good fun. And after riding Mystery Castle, I thought to myself, you know what? I am overcoming my fear of drop towers. Finally, I am starting to really quite enjoy them. So, you know what? I don't think I'm quite as scared as I once was of drop towers, because if you've watched my previous vlogs, such as Portaventura World, where I ride Hurricane Condor, the craziest drop tower I've ever ridden, I can ride drop towers. It was just the sort of stomach drop feeling that used to terrify me. After coming off Mystery Castle, it was a good feeling, because I do feel like I've sort of got over that fear of drop towers, which is great. And a really great thing that Phantasialand do is once you've left the ride, you're greeted by this dragon, which is just a really fun way to end. So that was great. So yeah, it was a really unique ride, especially being completely indoors. I think the indoor ride experience for a drop tower, actually, weirdly, you'd think it would be the opposite, but I think with it being completely dark in there, you're not concentrating on the height. You don't quite appreciate just how high up you are. I think a drop tower is probably scarier outdoors than indoors, but it's certainly more intimidating to start off with. When it comes to that extended ride cycle then, I was a little bit underwhelmed, I'm afraid. It was still a really good ride, but because I'd heard so much online about how Mystery Castle gets a longer ride cycle later in the day, and I only got that sort of half launch up and down, and then the main drop, I was expecting a little bit more. I was expecting a little bit longer of a ride cycle. Do let me know in the comments if you've had a different experience on Mystery Castle. Did they run the shorter cycle for me? Is that the shorter cycle or is it the longer cycle? I don't actually know. Let me know in the comments. Have you had a better experience on Mystery Castle? What was your ride cycle like? Was it just those two main drops? Do let me know in the comments below. But yeah, overall, it was still a really good, fun drop tower. So after riding Mystery Castle then, I headed over to explore the China side of the park. And once again, this land was absolutely stunning. The scenery, the buildings, they all looked beautiful. And it's a little bit of a shame actually, because there's not really a ride in the China side of the park that interested me. I was much more interested in going on the other rides at the park. It's only home to like a Vekoma madhouse and some other attractions, and there was nothing too special for me to ride there. So I didn't ride anything, but I still had a quick look round and it was absolutely stunning. It would be great if Phantasialand added a major attraction to that land in the future to make me stay there a little bit longer. So after exploring the China side of the park, I headed over to ride Chiapas, and you'll be pleased to know the audio does come back after riding Chiapas. So I'll cut to that in just a moment. So Chiapas, it's an Intamin water ride which opened in 2014, and it's got a height of 49 feet and a top speed of 47 miles per hour. Now this thing isn't a roller coaster, but it's still a major attraction at the park, being what I'd heard is a world-class water ride with a massively long ride duration of 6 minutes. So I was really excited to ride Chiapas, and I will let you know how it rides when I get off. And I have just got off my first ever ride on Chiapas. That was a really good log flume style water ride. My favourite part has to be that last drop. You've literally got, what is it, like 3 drops on this, I think it was. One really cool thing about Chiapas is, and this is a spoiler by the way, it goes backwards. You go on a little turntable at one point, which turns you around, and you go down a drop backwards on this thing, which is great fun. You've got this, as you're going backwards, I think before the drop, you go into this cave with all disco lights and funky music, which is good fun. So yeah, overall, this is a really good water ride. It is a long ride with all these drops in it, and the drops are really good fun. However, I would not say it is my, like my favourite water ride I've ever done. It definitely doesn't beat something like Valhalla over at Blackpool Pleasure Beach back home in the UK. That is definitely remains my favourite water ride I have ever done. But despite that, Chiapas is a really good attraction here at Phantasialand. And I'm just on my way over to Talocan now, but I thought on my way, why don't I show you my legs? So yeah, this is how wet I got on Chiapas there. So you do get somewhat wet. However, I was in the car, well not car, like I was like in the flume on my own. So the lighter the raft, the smaller the splash is going to be, pretty much. So yeah, this is how wet you can expect to get with a pretty light raft. But I'm not that cold. I wore my coat, so I'm all dry above the waist. But I've made my way over to Talocan now. I'm really excited for this Huss top spin. You saw it earlier in the vlog. It looks absolutely fantastic. I've only ever done one other Huss top spin, which is Toxicator over at Alton Towers in the UK, and I absolutely loved it. This Huss top spin, it did open before Toxicator. It is an older model, so yeah, it will be interesting to see how these two rides compare. So yeah, I'll let you know how Talocan rides when I get off. Oh my gosh, that thing was insane. In fact, I would go as far to say that that was possibly the most intense ride I have ever done in my life. Like, hands down, not even joking, not over exaggerating. That thing was insane. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I mentioned earlier that I'd ridden Toxicator at Alton Towers. Toxicator is a child's ride compared to this thing. This is so much more intense. The positive G-forces are ridiculous. You're completely getting thrown with so much force. It is amazing. Yeah, this is not for the faint-hearted, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say other than that thing was ridiculous. Basically, during these moments where you're spinning, the amount of force is incredible. Your whole body is pushing against the restraint, and you get that amazing feeling in the bottom of your feet where you just feel like it wants to rip your legs off. It is amazing. And of course, the theming makes it. With the fire, you know, watching the fire on ride, you can even feel the heat on your face. It's amazing. I mean, what a spectacle. this thing, it's not only amazing to ride, but it's amazing to watch as well. Just for people who might not want to ride it, watching their members of their party who do want to ride it is just as fun. It honestly looks fantastic. And yeah, Talocan has gone straight up to the top of literally my favourite flat ride anywhere in the world. It's got to be. This thing is extreme on so many levels. Yeah, what a ride. You cannot ride this without, you know, expecting a really extreme and strenuous experience on your body. Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted, but I absolutely love it. So yeah, Talocan, oh, what a ride. Absolutely incredible. Oh. And right next to Talocan is the B&M Invert Black Mamba. So, you know, I rode it earlier today and I said this thing has the potential to beat Nemesis at Alton Towers for those positive Gs. I've let it warm up throughout the day now, so I'm going to ride it now and I will give you my final verdict on Black Mamba and if it is really better than Nemesis. So I'll let you know how Black Mamba rides when I get off. And I have just come off 2 back-to-back rides there on Black Mamba. Once again, I got the front row first, and my last ride there was on the back row. So I can now give you my final verdict on this B&M Invert. Yes, it's warmed up and the intensity feels fantastic. However, Nemesis remains my favourite B&M Invert anywhere in the world. Nothing quite beats that amazing action-packed layout on Nemesis. These positive Gs still don't beat that other B&M Invert, unfortunately. But despite that, Phantasialand have an incredible coaster in Black Mamba. The layout is fantastic. Traversing around all those that rock work on the front row, it's a front row ride. You get just as many positive Gs on the front row as you do on the back, genuinely. So yeah, definitely if you can, ride on the front row. Literally, it was a station wait, pretty much walk on. So yeah, that's why I was so lucky to get the front row and back row so easily. So now I'm gonna have one last ride on F.L.Y, and then I'm gonna end the day lapping Taron. That's the plan. So I'm gonna head over to Rookburg now for my final ride on F.L.Y of the day, and I'll give you my final verdict on it. So I'm gonna try and get as far back on the train as I possibly can. They do have a seat assigner on F.L.Y, but you know, I'm gonna try my best. And yeah, I will let you know how F.L.Y rides when I get into Rookburg. And I have just got off my second ride on F.L.Y of the day, and yet again I do feel a little bit queasy, which is such a shame. And guess what? I got on the back row. So I've experienced F.L.Y on the back row and on the front row, and I can tell you for certain, just like Black Mamba, F.L.Y is a front row ride, and it's brilliant that F.L.Y has a separate front row queue. I would 100% recommend waiting for the front row for your first ever time riding F.L.Y, 100%. So, what did I think of the back row ride experience then? Well, it was nowhere near as good as the front row. Like, yeah, they were two completely different experiences. The back row, I barely got any airtime. And I loved the airtime that I got on my front row ride. That was pretty much the best part of F.L.Y for me. And you barely got any of it on the back. It's so interesting just how different F.L.Y is on that back row ride. But yeah, you know, I might not like it because of the way it makes me feel after riding it, in terms of feeling a bit giddy and a bit motion sick. So yeah, for me, it's not that re-rideable, but I can totally understand if for you and for others, it might be the best ride in the park and well up there in, you know, your top 10 coasters. It is just a shame how for me, it does make me a little bit queasy, which I've never felt on any other roller coaster just as much. So, of course that's disappointing, but I can still really appreciate the investment that Fantasia made in 2020 to bring F.L.Y and Rookburg to this park, because it's a full package over there. It looks absolutely stunning. So I'm going to head over to Taron now, my favourite part of Phantasialand, and get on as many rides on that Intamin multi-launch as I possibly can. And just on my way to Klugheim, I'm passing the Mexico area, and just look how beautiful it looks indoors. They built this rooftop here, and a lot of this is new for this year, and it looks absolutely fantastic. And yeah, you'll notice the Christmas decorations that they're getting ready for their Christmas season. So yeah, I mean, look at these lights. They're going to look fantastic at night, so I'll try and bring that to you later today. So, having just got off my last ride of the day on F.L.Y, I am now entering Klugheim for the second time of the day to ride Taron. My gosh, I am so excited to be getting on this amazing Intamin roller coaster. Look, I'm just taken aback at the effort that Phantasialand have put into their theming. It looks absolutely brilliant here with that fountain there. I mean, it is incredible. But anyway, I'm going to head over. I might try the single rider line again, because that worked out so well earlier today. And the thing with Intamins is they are known for warming up throughout the day. And I've heard this thing warms up just as much. So, you know what? I'm really, really excited to be getting on this to end my day here at Phantasialand. As you can see, you can probably tell it is starting to get quite a bit darker now. So the sun sets at I think it's at 5:01, so it should be getting dark literally as I'm talking. So yeah, I should hopefully get some night rides in today, or at least very close to it. So I'll let you know how Taron rides when I get off. Oh my gosh, I've just had my first proper night ride on this coaster, and yeah, I've been around 3 times so far. Oh, it's really warmed up. I'm just going around for my 4th ride now. Oh, Taron is absolutely incredible. Yeah. Oh, what a ride. And if you've still not hit that like button, please go ahead and do it right now, and also subscribe to the channel too. It's completely free to do and really helps out. So after riding Taron 7 times in the end, what did I think of it? What was my final verdict on Taron then? I had 4 night rides in total, and they were proper night rides. I wasn't expecting to get just as many night rides on this coaster as I did. That single rider line really did help out. I just lapped it back to back to back. I had so much fun, and this day was literally the perfect theme park day, and finishing it on Taron and lapping it that many times was an experience I won't ever forget. Riding it at night, I can confirm the thing really had warmed up. It was going through that layout so quickly. All those moments of airtime just felt that little bit stronger. It's full of twists and turns, and they just got whippier and whippier as the day went on, and you really did feel it at the end there. And at night, I think the reason night rides are so special, the roller coaster itself has had all day to warm up, so it will be running at its best, and Taron certainly was. But with it being at night, all the sensations that you feel on that ride, they are just heightened, and it just makes for an absolutely brilliant ride experience. And it just cemented Taron as my absolute favourite roller coaster at Phantasialand. As for the negatives to Taron, I love my inversions on roller coasters. I love a good inversion. I really enjoy hang time. I also really enjoy those really floaty zero gravity inversions as well, which you can find on many different RMCs. So that sort of shows you just how much I love inversions. So it is a little bit of a shame that Taron doesn't have any. I do think it would have certainly benefited from them. It would have just leveled up that ride experience and just made it that bit more extreme. However, I understand why Phantasialand may not have chosen to add any inversions to this ride, because it does make it more rideable for people who might be more scared of them. And I would say, yeah, it's a thrilling coaster for sure, and I absolutely love it. But it's not too thrilling, it's not too extreme to put a lot of people off. And it places it in a weird sort of position where it's not quite an extreme coaster, but it's also not a family thrill coaster. It is a coaster which, as a coaster enthusiast, I can really enjoy. And as a coaster enthusiast, I chose to lap it at the end of the day because it's definitely the best coaster at Phantasialand. But it's a coaster which is a really, really great stepping stone. It's honestly a coaster that I would certainly recommend people wanting to overcome their fear of roller coasters to ride. But that doesn't mean the ride experience is tame, because one of my favourite elements is the second launch. It is so whippy. You get a really fantastic sense of speed, and the sound of that LSM launch, you hear it all around Klugheim. It sounds amazing. You hear the raw power of that launch, and when you're on the ride, it just feels amazing. And like I said in my first review, those airtime moments did remain my favourite part of the ride. And yeah, everything was just that bit better with it being a night ride. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts of Taron. Yeah, it's not on the super extreme scale of roller coasters, but it doesn't have to be. It's really good fun for what it is. So after lapping Taron and doing it in total 7 times that day, my day at Phantasialand was over, and honestly, my overall impressions, my first impressions of this park are phenomenal. The theming makes it. There's not quite another park in Europe that I've been to which does theming as good as Phantasialand, and you really do notice it when you're at the park. The attention to detail they have put into each of their lands at Phantasialand is incredible, and the attractions that they have made to match with those themed lands are phenomenal. I rode what became my favourite flat ride in the world, Talocan. It looks amazing off-ride, and I wasn't expecting it to be just as forceful as it was. So that, riding Talocan, was a major highlight of my day there. I loved getting on Black Mamba, and while I thought it had the potential to be my favourite B&M invert, yeah, it didn't quite beat Nemesis in the end, but it was still a really, really good invert. When it comes to F.L.Y, of course, it's a shame that I get a bit of motion sickness after riding it, so it's not a re-rideable coaster for me, but I can still really appreciate the effort that Phantasialand have put into that coaster and how incredible it looks. It's literally got to be one of the best looking roller coasters I have ever seen. Overall, Phantasialand, this day was absolutely unforgettable, and it's no surprise that it is one of the most popular theme parks anywhere in Europe. I noticed it throughout my day. I had to walk through some really long queue lines. Yeah, there was no one in them, but I still had to walk through them, and it showed me this park really does have to deal with the crowds, with how long these queue lines are. So that I was really fortunate to go on such a quiet day, and yeah, I had such a brilliant time for my first ever visit to Phantasialand. It was literally the perfect theme park day. I did everything I wanted to do when I wanted to do it because it was completely dead there, and the rides and attractions were absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for watching. If you still haven't hit that like button, please go ahead and do it right now, and subscribe to the channel too. Also, leave a comment. I read all your comments, and I really do appreciate any interactions you have with the channel. So my name is Max Grindon, and this has been Max G-Force. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.